everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to the History of the Dice Tower. We're getting close to the end of it. Today we're in year 2016. And you know, I keep saying in these, and this was the year that changed the Dice Tower, but this year was a pretty big year for me. And I'll explain why at the end, what happened, something kind of changed in my head in 2016, but we'll come back to that. Let's go to the beginning of the year. And as with most years, our years began now with a big giant Kickstarter. So here I am, I have Sam and Z working full-time for me, and I'm like, okay, where can we go from here? So one of the things that we did, it was kind of short-lived, but we brought Chaz Marler on as a part-time contributor. And one of the things I was like, how can we make this bigger? What can we make better? And I was myself getting exhausted. I was editing top 10s and Board Game Breakfast and Week in Review and all my videos. And I said, we need a video editor. But we can only get a video editor if we reach a certain level of funding. And oh my goodness, we've run many Kickstarters over the course of the years. This was by far our best one. It went astoundingly well. The reactions that people had to getting the stuff in it was really high. It was our biggest jump from year to year, and we're so glad because we were able to get a video editor. So one of the things we did, we had run a marathon near the end of the year. We ran another marathon, brought Eric Summerer in to do this marathon, and so that was a lot of fun. And so the year started off, woo! Well, not really, but so I mentioned that Dan King and Bart had both left the show, did their own channels. Well, hot on their heels here, we lost one of our most conducive contributors. Nick from Board Game Brawl had been with us for a while, but we had a fairly severe difference of opinion. It just basically came down to, I want to run a family-friendly show. And so he was the first person that I kind of asked to leave the show, and actually has been the last person asked to leave the show. But that kind of caused some, but we like Nick. And then we brought Suzanne in to cover for him, and Suzanne to take over the Kickstarter news segment, and there was some resistance to that. But for the most part, everyone, they took it in stride, but it was the beginning of things happening that year. So remember, if you watched the last year, I talked that I had the idea of the Dice Tower Cruise put in my head, and now Jason Levine showed up and said, you got to do the Dice Tower Cruise. And I said, I don't know if I want to do a Dice Tower Cruise. He's like, well, let's just go look at the ship. So dragged me up, looked at the ship, and I was pretty impressed. Not to mention, me and my family had taken a vacation on a cruise ship back in 2015, and it was unbelievably amazing. And I said, yeah, I guess we could do a cruise. I have all this free time here on the ship. This seems like a pretty neat thing. And so we started setting that up, not knowing how big. Jason was like, we'll do the whole ship. I said, well, let's wait and see where it ends up. Let's see if anyone is interested in coming. And then Z went to the hospital. So just a bunch of things compounded. Z went to the hospital, fairly serious thing, but he was out of commission for several weeks. But fortunately, that managed to pass, and we came back. I decided this time that Board Game University was being a big strain on my resources. It's one of the things I'm most proud of doing, this audio podcast where I interviewed people but talked about the past. I think there's some really good stuff there, but it was kind of really draining on us. So I was like, all right, let's go. We're going to make things exciting. What can we do this year that's different and exciting? All right, Tom versus the internet. So that worked pretty well, starting to do some more live stuff where I would play against the internet. Not super useful because there's that lag between me and the internet, but we tried that out. And then we're like, all right, these marathons, people love these marathons. Let's do more of them. So at the beginning of the year, right before Gamma, we brought in Richard Ham, to do a marathon. Jason showed up, and it was a good marathon for the most part, although it certainly has one of the most memorable moments in any of our live marathons where Jason looked like he combusted in the middle, but it was all fake. You have to go watch that to see what's going on there. It was a little crazy. But at that marathon, that was the first anyone saw of Derek Porter. So when I went and said I'm going to get a video editor, we did hit that stretch goal. Huzzah! And Lots of people applied for the position, and this really put me in a quandary. See, with Z and Sam, when I hired them, they were known quantities. Hiring a video editor, I'm hiring someone completely unknown. There were lots of different people asking for the position and wanting to come in. They all seemed good. I never hired anyone like that before in my life, so it took a while, and we settled on Derek. So when Derek, he wanted to come in, check out the area, and he came in during the live marathon, I said, here's your chance. So here we are all, us and Jason and Rado and Derek, and we're all cramped in my one room here trying to do this live feed, moving the tables. It was really a pain, but we managed to pull it off. But I remember thinking, man, I would love it if we had our own space rather than being stuck in that room. And around this time, I started really, really, really hating live stuff. There was a thread on Board Game Geek where someone said the Dice Tower needs to hire a rules editor because here are the mistakes you made in Pandemic Legacy. And I was like, this is why we don't, because the live stuff, I was like trying to enjoy it. Like, hey, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have this back and forth with the audience and do stuff live. And I was amazed at how many people got infuriated over the rules mistakes that we made. Rules mistakes that literally everyone makes when they play, but when you don't have several hundred people, that was all who were watching us at the time, watching you, they won't notice those sorts of things. And I just found this to be draining to do these, not to mention getting the audio, getting the syncing issues. We had a lot of different problems in that regard, trying to figure out the right thing to use at the right time. Now, I'll get back to that, come back in 2017, and we fixed that. But this live stuff was draining on me, but then we went to Gamma. So the Gamma Trade Show, we've gone before, we did some live stuff, but this time we went in, we took multiple computers, we took a whole team of people, we were ready, we said, okay, we're going to be, we're doing this, and then they said, hey, we're sticking you in this room, and we're going to draw a curtain across it, and Board Game Geeks in the other half. And I said, oh, are you serious? Because that seems really bad to have us both in the same room, and you'll hear the other people talking, and they're like, no, that's what you get. I was like, all right, here we are. We had been at Gamma for a while, and I wasn't really keen on having, I like Board Game Geek a lot, but it just seemed like we were doing the same thing in the same place. I said, we got to do something different. So we did something where when someone was done, we switched them to another table, and at that table, then we would let the internet ask them questions. And it went over like gangbusters. We've done a lot of live stuff over the years, but that was one of the better events we ran. And when we were done, we were tired as all get out. But fortunately, Tim Meltivier in town invited us to Meeplecon. I was like, I never heard of Meeplecon. Going cons back to back? All right, we'll go. And it was so relaxing and so wonderful to go to Meeplecon. And we had such a great time there. And I said, man, I really like this con. And at the time, the people running the con were like, you like it? Would you like it to be Dice Tower West? And I was like, oh, no. One con is enough, thank you very much. Yeah, so after Gamma Meeplecon, we came back. I started doing top 10s. I did top 10s when Rado came in. I did a couple with him, and Rodney Smith came in for a live play, and I did some with him. And so that went well. I put up the Dice Tower FAQ at this point, a Board Game Geek list where I answered people's questions because I was doing lots of Q&As, and I was getting tired of answering the same questions over and over again. It's interesting, I haven't updated. I've added a few things at FAQ over the years, but I probably should update it at some point because it's now been 3 years. And then we got invited to the UK Games Expo. Oh, okay. That's neat. I've never been to England before. And we went, and it was marvelous. It was a great time. Me and Sam went over to UK Games Expo. We had a really good time. I didn't know what to expect, but it instantly became one of my favorite conventions that we went to. And it was neat to see this fairly small convention, which had been way smaller than before we got there. And now, since I've been there, it just has been growing year after year. But from the ground up, it was run so very well. We then went to Origins. And Origins was a big deal because we were starting to do these summer previews, this live stuff, which was basically a duplicate of what we had done at Gamma, but in a bigger open space. And we were like, hey, come by and see us. We'll be here. And we started feeling like we were having presence at the conventions and Origins. Now, we were consistently, as I said, having audio and video problems everywhere. Around this point in time, Derek came and was working full-time, and man, did we throw him in the deep end. Because we had all these things, and people were like, what? You got a video editor, and you're still having these problems? Well, no, we always had these problems. They're just exasperated with all this. We started getting new equipment, and we're like, all right, we got to fix it. We're going to have better sound. We're going to have better video. We're going to do these things. And If there's one thing that's frustrating is when you do something like that, it doesn't turn out well. The internet tells you that didn't turn out well, and you know. And you're like, well, let's just keep trying. And so we did, but it was certainly a cause of a lot of headaches. And like I said, I just felt a lot of stress this particular year from various things like that. We went to the Dice Tower Con, which moved from the DoubleTree to the Caribe. Suddenly this con started becoming a really big con, for me at least. Sam Healy started a show, Throw Punch Lunch, which went for a couple years there. And as we went by, we found some things worked and some things did not. One of the things that I tried, I did it one time. I believe I did it with Quadropolis. One of the stretch goals was like, all right, we're going to make a series of short little videos, like quick, here's how to play. And then stores could play them and, so on and so forth. It took me forever to make one video. And we did it, and I thought it was okay, not a bad video. And then other people started doing the same thing, and I said, you know what, this isn't our style. I do believe shorter is better. That's one of my things, the Dice Tower. Brevity is good. But that style video just didn't work in our plans at that time. So then we went to the Gen Con and did our big show there, and did our Gen Con show. Huge. We got the big room at Gen Con, which was amazing. And our 2015 show, we had a great Gen Con show, and then we had a Gen Con show that wasn't as amazing. And then this one, the step up with big stage, it just felt... I cannot tell you folks how much it was to walk into that room and see a huge crowd of people who were there to see us, and remember back to when Eric and I went into a room and there was 2 people there. And that was just a neat thing for us. Sam and Z did music, and we tried to fix some of our video problems at the studio. We made things 1080 finally. That's because the AT&T guy showed up one day and said, do you want broadband? And I was like, yes, boom. And then we said, okay, now we got this faster speed. I bought big hard drives. What are we going to do with it? And it's make our videos better. Jason started recording videos with me. Everything is awesome. And around that very time, I turned 40 years old. So everything was awesome. We switched out our Geek Sheet table with a Rathscour's table, a table we still have in one of our studios. We got invited to a small convention up in Connecticut called PortalCon. And we went to Essen and did a live show there too. So we were starting to get into a groove. These are the cons we're doing. We're doing Origins and Dice Tower Con and Gen Con and Essen, and then started fitting the other cons. And I was like, wow, I remember going to just one con a year, but now we were going to quite a few of them. Also, my secret trip to California a year ago to visit the offices of Riot Games and give them advice on the board game Mechs vs. Minions came out this year and was spectacular and pretty cool. But I'll tell you, as we were just going through all these things, and so the way it would work was, I don't remember the exact schedule, but like one day, Z would come in, and one day Derek would come in, and one day Sam would come in, and one day all 3 would be in, and one day none of them would be in because I would be busy recording stuff. And it worked, right? But man, were we crunched for space. Man, the other guys had to record at home and do their stuff at home, and we would just edit together in the office. It was a good time. It was a very different time than it is now. We still walk around and talk to each other now, but we might pause and watch a video on the internet and then get back to work, and everything. But it started to feel cramped, and so I started making ideas and saying, hey, we need to find our own space. We need to go out and move into a place that's our own. And so we went to Board Game Geek Con, and I said, you know what, there's just too many cons. We have to call something. That was the last year we went to Board Game Geek Con, not because I don't like the con, because I do. We had a booth there, which was the first year of having a booth. Wasn't really the best idea. It was a very slow booth con. But we had a good time there. It was fantastic, and I said, we've gone to so many conventions, we need to cool our jets just a bit and do more focusing on the videos we have at home. In fact, if you'll notice when 2016 you watch these videos, because we were squished in that room, you'll see a lot more mobile recording. You'll see me outside. I did a series of videos from the zoo. I did a series of videos down in the Keys. I did these outside videos, which I'm still pretty happy with how these videos turned out. But, we wanted our own studio because just traveling all around doing that was a bit of work. And then, but, you know, with all the little problems this year, and I don't mean this video to come across as complaining at all, because with the stress from the video and the sound and the comments, I had a great team of guys that I was working with. I have the greatest job on earth. So this was all minor stuff, and the year capped out with the first Dice Tower cruise, which was phenomenal. It really was. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I kind of had some idea of what to expect. I couldn't expect that it would just turn out to be my favorite thing ever, to go on this cruise, to have this small thing, because I would, you know, I'm an extrovert. I like to be in huge, big, giant crowds. And I realized that this smaller setting with people where I could be more intimate, talking to folks, playing games with folks, really was my jive. Because there still was a lot of people, still had a great time. I loved the perfect mix of gaming and not gaming, fun things that we did. It was just absolutely fantastic. So I had so much fun on that cruise. It was such a good capper to the year. You know, Christmas came and I was like, oh, Christmas, yay, but the cruise was amazing. And we immediately made plans to do a second one in 2017. So that's pretty much 2016. A lot of different things going on that year. Good year for gaming, but the Dice Tower kept going into 2017. But remember at the beginning I said, you know, 2016 was a big changing year, and here's what it came down to. So at the end of 2016, there was this thing about, you know what, we've really expanded the Dice Tower, but it's time to just go on cruise control. You know, we made the Dice Tower, it got bigger, we've gone to all these conventions. Tom, how much growth do you want the Dice Tower to have? Why don't in 2017 we just do the same thing that we've been doing? I said to myself, that makes sense. We don't need to keep growing. We don't need to get bigger. Let's just focus. Let's just stay where we're at. Everyone is getting along. Everything's going well. And I don't know exactly what the moment was, but there came some burr in me and I said, I cannot do this. I cannot just leave well enough alone. I'm not happy with exactly how our live stuff is going. I'm not completely thrilled, you know, about how our sound and video is. I feel like we could be doing a better, more efficient job. Live stuff's driving me crazy. Let's find a way to make it work. Let's make the Dice Tower bigger and better, not just one of those two. And that was the mindset I went into 2017 with. I was like, all right, now we're going to see things change. And then I decided to say goodbye to Kickstarter. What? We'll talk about that next time in the history of the Dice Tower. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel. Thanks for watching.